1 minute.
Good afternoon, everybody. I know we've got just a couple, probably about 30 seconds before these ladies get started, so I'm not going to take their time, but I wanted to jump in, especially since this is our first session with them. So these are two of our featured speakers, our mission specialists, as we blast off here at KISS 24 this year. So I had the absolute honor and blast, I will say, of meeting these two young ladies at
young.
That got me excited.
See,
right
We
there.
they're already
will pay him later for that.
So I met them at ISTE this past year in Philadelphia, and I ended up going to, I think, like 5 of their sessions during the entire conference. I followed them around the conference because they are super energetic, super knowledgeable, and they are passionate about building the next generation of EdTech leaders, which is something that I'm also very passionate about as someone who was an STLP engineer and now gets to be an EdTech leader and KISS president. Like, it's insane. So very passionate about who's going to follow us. And so hopefully you have some aspiring CIOs in here. Hopefully we have some CIOs that are aspiring to stick around a little bit longer, especially after they get you all fired up. So I will turn it over to Dr. Sheryl Abshire and Ms. Donna Williamson. Thank you all so much for coming to Kentucky. We love having you here.
Well, we love being here.
We love it.
Thank you so much.
We're happy to be here. Well, we're here to talk to you about the future. Now, Donna nixed my idea. I wanted to Amazon and get spacesuits and come in down the middle aisle.
They did not make an extra large.
They did not, no. And she said, well, no, we're not doing that because it'll scare them. And KISS's not paying for spacesuits. So I said, I just thought it would be kind of an intro. But we are going to talk to you about where technology's going. Donna, what is that thing your husband said about we should always aim where?
Aim ahead of the ducks.
So we're from duck hunting country. I'm from South Louisiana. She's from Alabama. Aim ahead of the ducks. And so in your role as tech leaders, this whole concept of to infinity and beyond, the next generation, you need to be thinking, where is beyond? Technology is changing so quickly, we can hardly keep, they're going to be spelling it different before you know it in the next couple of years. But we're ready to talk about the future of learning. We're ready to talk to you about what is disruption, innovation. Steve Jobs, which was one of the early innovators. How many of y'all remember that first little Macintosh computer? Some people with gray hair. Well, hair dye works, doesn't it, ladies? We can keep faking it. But the point is, innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower. And so you're already at this conference. So you're an innovator, you're a leader, you're moving forward, and you're bringing people along with you. And as Donna's had to do in our career, we've drugged some of them along with us. But we get there because technology is the catalyst, the seed of innovation for what's going on in schools today.
Now, some of the things that we're going to be talking about, you're going to say, that's not new, okay? Because when we were doing some research, and we never do the same thing twice, so if that gives you any idea, it's always changing because we're always researching. And we work with CTOs across the country, about 100 of them. So as they talk in our class and we learn to listen from them, you know, we change our perception a lot of times and really dig deeper into things. But some of the things is the data revolution.
That's not new, Donna.
Well, Sheryl,
all they do is talk about data.
Sheryl,
data-driven decision making. What, ma'am?
We're not talking about it the way you knew about it.
Oh, okay.
And you were a principal.
So it's new. Yeah,
it's a little bit different. Okay. So we're going to be talking about the data revolution, but in a different context.
Well, I have a new one for you.
Okay.
Neuroeducation. I didn't know about neuroeducation.
That was because my school district in Mountain Brook was ahead of you.
Oh, Alabama is ahead of Louisiana?
We did do some research on how the brain works, but I don't think until we started really deep diving
I don't think we called it that.
No, we just called it brain research.
There you go. Okay, I'm good for that. But this is not. This is
not that. So
this
we're
is
going to
the
talk
next
about this.
generation.
Okay, and then we're going to talk about blended learning.
Been doing it, Donna. Pandemic, blended, go home.
Well,
blended learning.
I know we have done blended learning, but I think that what we've learned through the pandemic is that we went from straight face to face, we went to remote, and now I think, as you well know, it's going to be demanded of us to do more blended, but that in itself is going to look
Well, it's
different
got to get better
as
when they
well.
were at home.
It is.
Okay,
And-
good.
and
I'll go for that.
This thing that you're about to talk about is
well,
one of the things that's
forget
going to
all
make it
the-
all different.
Forget all the rest of the stuff, because the two-letter word that we barely not say in our districts, AI, it is a four-letter word, because massive AI adoption, and it's not just us in schools and school districts, it's been out there, it's taken over the world. You know what? When I started Googling things, and then it started coming up the things I had been Googling, and when I met my best friend, Amazon, my husband's worst friend, because during Christmas, everything, he said, are we the Amazon drop-off
We're
point?
an Amazon drop-off
I said,
place.
we're not, but just put it in the dining room because that's for all the grandchildren. But anyway, when everything started coming up that I had bought, would you like some of this? Would you like some of this? My husband says, every time I go online, it's asking me to buy something. I said, well, I can't help it because I have to buy things and my grandchildren need it. But this adoption in our school districts is the infinity and beyond.
Well, and it's driving really all the other things that we're talking about. Without the AI piece, it wouldn't work. And I can remember when computers first started coming, and
That was very, very olden days. That was the
olden days. But the same thing people said then are what they're saying now, which is like, this may be a fad. How many of you have heard of NVIDIA? Anybody?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Get you some of that stock, right,
The
John
stock
Harrington?
has done this. They did have a little dip the other day, but it's doing this. NVIDIA, used to be video card people, but now they're making the chips. And what are they making the chips for? To support what? AI. So, and it's doing this. And the market is often a trend.
Aren't you going to get to buy a new deck for your house because of that?
Yes,
NVIDIA
my
stuff?
husband bought
She
early.
Is. She buying a new
sold
deck.
it at the top. But anyway, so there's trends and there's data out there. This is not going away, but it is supporting all the other things that we're talking about.
Cloud platforms. Now, Donna, we were in the cloud a little while ago. What's the cloud?
Well, because of a lot of it's because of AI, but they're really having to build the more robust cloud infrastructures. People are having to build it out more because it's going to take a lot more electrical power to drive a lot of the AI innovations that are coming.
It's going to take a lot more technology too.
And it's going to be in the cloud. So they're really building out the cloud. And because the cloud is getting more and more robust, more and more common, then we're going to be able to do a lot more of the technologies because it's all going to be in the cloud. And if it's in the cloud, then it's what? If it's in the cloud, do I have to do it right here?
It's anywhere.
No, it's everywhere. So you can wear it.
Hey, after the hurricanes in Louisiana, I live in a part of the state where it's the best gumbo. Don't say nothing about no Kentucky gumbo. I'm sorry, Neil, but that gumbo's in Louisiana. But the other place I come from, it's the most gumbo and the most hurricanes. So we know about putting stuff in the cloud so we could run a payroll from the cloud, because after Katrina came, there wasn't any payrolls being run, but the cloud's good. We're going to talk about it.
We're going to talk about that.
Okay, now we're going to talk about micro learning. You heard of that, Donna?
Yes.
Micro. That doesn't mean you learn just a little bit and you get to graduate. It's about a different kind of learning. So let's talk about some of these things. Well, here's the deal. You're at this conference because you want to learn, not because you wanted to get away from your school district, but maybe because you wanted to get a break. But the key is the challenges are bigger and bigger and bigger for all of us in technology roles. They're not getting smaller. The evolving local, state, federal policies. In fact, John Harrington, raise your hand sitting in the back of the room. When this session is over, John has flown in Washington, D.C., Oklahoma, where his work is, just off fresh of an FCC meeting where he's going to tell us in the next session all about the FCC, if you can even talk about it in public, John. But these federal policies are evolving, our Kentucky policies, even at the district level. The growth of EdTech applications. You can go to the exhibit hall and you can see that there's more there than you can throw a purchase order at, but there's plenty to look at and to learn about. I can hardly say cybersecurity without shaking and having a shot of Kentucky bourbon afterwards, because the cybersecurity thing is getting bigger and bigger. In fact, we're going to do a session about that, Donna. And then what we're really about in Neil's passion, growing new and emerging K-12 tech leaders. Now, there's challenges and strategies everywhere, but solutions abound here at KISTI. And so mark your calendar. You could take a picture. This is what you can look in the app. These are all the sessions that Neil has talked us into doing. So for 2 months, Donna and I have been writing slide decks, and we updated them all again last night because we're never satisfied. But this is what we're going to be talking to you about. So Donna, you talked about this data revolution. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because we only have 50 minutes, but just to kind of go over the hot topics. Personalized learning, we've done a lot of that in the past. How many of you have been asked to scaffold learning before if you were in the classroom, personalized learning, and you were like, how am I going to do this with 28 different people in this classroom that all need something different? But with the data coming out now, and again, it's all underpinned by AI, we're going to actually be able to, and with the metadata, and it's going to be more commonplace, we can put the data in and get at that personalized learning and scaffold learning.
I'm so glad we'll finally be able to do it.
I will too.
We are.
It's great.
What about decisions?
And I personally do that to just make sure it really comes out right, and it is coming out right. Informed data decisions, the analytics that we are getting now on software use, time, all of those is exploding. I mean, from the analytics that we had last year to what's coming. We also do a lot of advisory work for companies, and we're seeing what they're doing with their analytics, and it's actually going to be easy to understand, easy to read, easy to interpret, and actually give direction. I think that with the data that we're having now with the metadata, we're going to be able to truly do some early intervention that we haven't been able to do before, professional development, and of course, we've got to balance all of the innovation with the safeguards, but I'm really excited about some of the software that we've looked at lately that will scrub the data, or not scrub the data, but actually mask the data as it's going into some of these applications so that we are not at risk. We just got through doing 6 hours of cybersecurity workshops last week. We're going to do some here, but there's a lot of things going on there so that with the cybersecurity, that if we eliminate that fear, then we are truly going to have.
Well, parents are very concerned.
The
what
data
we're doing
revolution.
with data.
I'm not going to go over this a lot, but I think also that it's going to be able to shift from the average student with the data to the every student, which we've all said in our mission statements for 100 years. We teach every student every day, but we've not been physically able to do that. But with the data revolution and what's happening with the analytics and what's happening with the easy to read reports, we are going to be able to do that. So watch for it. The other thing that I think concerns me a little bit is I don't understand why, even though we haven't all gotten our AI policies written, why we're not going ahead and teaching our students ahead of time the ethics and the repercussions, and making sure that we're intertwining that with digital citizenship.
I think it's a big deal.
And teaching.
And I think it's our responsibility. That's the key. If it's not happening in your classrooms, lead that revolution in your school district.
Well, I was working with a school district the other day, and I've got a couple of people in the academy this year that's gotten further along in, it's your favorite word that I'm about to die to write one, a chat bot. And I truly believe that with the data that we have in our schools and with private AI within your district, that's not going to it will have your district's bias. This will be biased, but it'll be your district's bias. Our students can learn to write those chat bots, and we'll finally be able to use that for the greater good for the district. And I already know some districts that have done it, and students are the ones that wrote the chat bots.
Absolutely.
And now Donna's going to go home and in her.
That's good. You can write one for us.
Right.
So neuroeducation, that word that we were like, what's up with that? Well, the key, and we talked about brain-based learning, We've done book studies about it in our curriculum department. But what neuroeducation does is blend the neuroscience piece to really learn, how does the brain learn? One of the early books I read, we did a book study, was How People Learn. Well, that's kicking it up a notch to how does the brain help us learn? Our students, you talked about differentiating, you talk about personalized learning. Well, you can't really do that. It's all theoretical if you clearly don't understand how the brain works, how it influences into the processes of learning, different learning methodologies, but most importantly, curriculum design. How many of you in here work with your curriculum departments in your school district?
Great.
If your hand isn't raised, I hope you can raise, good, Neil, high, because one of the first things Donna and I did when we got our jobs was go stick our nose into the curriculum department meetings. They did not want me in the meetings. They were like, thank you, Sheryl, can we help you? We don't have any problems with technology. I said, oh, no, I'm just going to listen. They said, listen to what? I said, we want to support you. We want to help you. She went and told the superintendent, Sheryl Abshire is trying to butt into our meetings. He said, you surprised? You really surprised?
I wouldn't have been surprised.
You wouldn't be surprised. So what I'm saying is, it's that piece of dealing with curriculum and learning and processes is because we're supporting their learning. So the whole thing is from curriculum objectives down to the learning experience, because technology today, ladies and gentlemen, is the learning experience. So you're going from how the brain's processing it, how are we designing curriculum to meet the needs? You said every student, not about the average. When we first started teaching, teach the middle, Sheryl, teach the middle. I was like, what about the kids over here? Teach to the middle, they'll pick it up. The slow ones, well, they may never get it. The fast ones, they'll get it and they go on their own. So curriculum design with that personalized piece, and then the interventions. I'm sad to say it, but we have more students being identified with special needs in this country today than ever before. Are y'all noticing that in your district? So that requires a lot more personalized individualization. And so what are the benefits? You know, I told somebody the other day, Donna and I were talking about this with some other people. We're not interested in what they learn for the test.
No.
We shouldn't be interested in that. It's that long-term memory store. How are they going to apply this over and over again? How are we going to help them grow and meet their learning goals? Not just the curriculum objectives, but their learning goals. And then how do we enhance pedagogy? How do we enhance teaching and learning with technology to really improve it?
And, you know, you can see how this is all tying together too, because if we weren't having a data revolution, then as we learned all this data with the neuroscience, it wouldn't do us any good if we didn't have some way where to store it, crunch it, analyze it, and produce reports based on it. So you can see how it's all going. Because you know a lot about hybrid learning, I just want to point out a few things about that.
Well, Donna, it's not just, okay, teach here today and let's send them something to do at home.
No.
That's not what it's about.
No, but let's just talk about what it does do first. And then I'm going to give you an example of school district that I worked with a couple of years ago and some of the things that they're doing. But okay, it leverages technology. You can't really have hybrid learning without technology, right? So every child's got to have
every kid has a device now, Donna.
Well, they do for now.
Thank you for the
We are going to be talking about creating a sustainable budget later this week.
We're going to do that.
It gives us some flexibility. We know that there are some students that do not thrive in a traditional instructional setting, right? So the hybrid learning can help us with that. And it does encourage collaboration because it's so easy to collaborate.
How many of y'all have stood up a fully virtual school for students?
In Alabama, we're required to have a virtual option for every district.
I never thought we'd do it, but Donna, we did it.
Yeah.
A fully virtual school to offer those options.
So, you know, if you've already got the fully virtual and you've got the face-to-face, then the hybrid is not that far away. Okay, but what is the hardest thing about doing a hybrid learning environment? Logistics. Do we have enough teachers to handle it?
Are they trained?
Are they trained? I can tell you that we've been doing the Academy for COSIN for I've been doing it for 5 years, and you've been doing it really basically that amount of time. But it has taken me 5 years to learn how to make that engaging and handle 100 people going into breakout rooms and activities where people are engaged and collaborating. It took me 5 years.
It is a skill.
It's a skill. So it's going to take some changes to the traditional scheduling. There's still some equity issues. Sometime at a break, I can tell you about some of the ones I've seen across the country that it breaks my heart. That we still have children that cannot get internet to their homes.
And if they do, it's too slow because there's 3 children on one little MiFi device. And so
there's
talking about federal policies,
there.
That's what we have to address, the inequities.
And there's so much of the gamification in a hybrid learning environment, making sure that the gamification pieces actually lead us toward learning and understanding and not just having fun. How many of you used to play the games online and, it was the math games and you were supposed to do the multiplication?
I did Math Blaster. Is that too old?
And you would do the answers and you had no idea what you were supposed to be learning, and you really didn't care if you got the right answer, because if you just hit enough keys, you would get an answer and get to move on. You've got to have the quality there and the depth. And of course, with all of this, then you can truly have the software that is best for those students. I want to just briefly go over this. This is Angie Gaylord she is the innovation officer in Dallas ISD. And what they learned in the whole Dallas area was that they had a large percent of their students who were not attending Dallas public schools. And so their superintendent and their board decided that they would do these little mini schools within Dallas, and it's a lottery, and you have to sign up because they felt like there's a Montessori school and then there's their hybrid school. And she was in the academy, and so I had her demonstrate this to me so that I could understand it. And the students actually go to school 2 days a week. They do, I think I've got the ratio right. They're at home 3 days a week. When they're at school, when they're doing the virtual component, they have an avatar, and it looks like they're in a classroom so that they can interact. It's great to look at some of the innovative ways that they've put in these little mini schools in the Dallas area to try to bring these students in. But this is truly a hybrid learning module.
But they were appealing to another generation of students.
Well, they were appealing to students who learn differently.
Exactly.
Which is what we're talking about,
which is what we're talking about. So this massive AI adoption that we're all reeling and grappling with, do any of you in the audience today, have y'all already done an AI policy for your district? Few people have. You're ahead of the game, but it's coming.
2 states in the country have already got it published, 2 out of 50.
So we've got some work to do, but really generative and super AI, that's going to focus towards truly learner-centric environments. One of the things it's going to do is give teachers the time to pay attention to individualizing learning because of the load it takes off teachers. One of the things Donna and I always talk about, there's something we can't do in schools. We can't give teachers more time. But if we bring in AI-enabled processes, we give them what they always wanted, was more time. And then this virtual and real-life classroom, experiences that they've never had before, and that's what we're looking for. So let's think about this.
Read up here and decide.
Read this thing. Guardian, cautious to implement without researching. Innovator, take some risk. Risky business. Knowing that failure could be imminent. You're guinea pigs, you're enthusiastic. Are you analysis? Research, ask questions, do the work, inform, dig into the literature, or a passenger. You kind of focus on doing what you know with what you got, but you're waiting for the guardians, the innovators, the analysts to come up. And then you're ready to go once the ship's ready. How many of you, now this is a circle of trust, right, Neil?
Everything we do is a circle of trust.
We're not telling on each other. How many of you think you're kind of guardians, kind of a little cautious? Wait. That's good, good. A few honest people here. How many of you are innovators, risk takers? Let's go. Try it out. How many are analysts? You got to be something. So pick one. Are you an analyst that research asks? How many are passengers?
I'm the analyst.
Let's let them do the work, and then we're going to move on. But with AI, you're going to have to jump out and take some risk. So AI, what it is and what it's not. In education, we just talked, it is personalized learning. It's going to be the revolutionizer of personalized learning. It's going to differentiate things for student learnings. We're already seeing it all over the country. And at the other end of the spectrum, advancing concepts for students that, quite frankly, in many of our classrooms today, we can't provide enough learning opportunities. So you know what we have? We have kids that are bored.
And I tell you, one of the best things I've seen, because like I said, I still contract with my former school district and I've been gone 5 years, but I still contract all the time. But, and so I was sharing with them, and I can't name the school district, the EdTech leader there is Laurie Owen, but I can't remember the name of the school system, but I will give it to you if you stop me in the hall.
She's in California.
But they came up with, and I think this is what you have to do for teachers, and there's a chart that I'll be glad to share with you, but they give teachers these little stamps, and it's like, if you've not read about it, where it's like, you put this kind of stamp on an assignment or figure, it's like a color, like red, and it's like, this assignment, you're not allowed to use any AI, period. You've seen it? Isn't it great? So she's great, by the way, but she's in the academy this year. But then you have like a yellow that's like, you can use AI, but with these parameters. And then it comes on down, you may not use AI. And if you do use AI, you are violating the honesty policy. I think by giving teachers that, would you not agree, by giving teachers those?
The guardrails, it's the guardrails.
It's the guardrails. I think that they will be less reluctant.
I think, but what it's not, go back real quick, that's okay. It's not a replacement for teachers. We're not going to have a robot in classrooms or somebody on a screen talking and all the kids are sitting. First of all, we cannot leave the children alone. Nothing has changed in terms of we have to have an adult overseeing that. But it's going to transform the work they do. It's not going to solve all the problems we have in schools, and but it is going to save time, as we talked about it.
And we do an AI, we do a lot of AI sessions, and there's just so much, and they're different every time. So if you want to have a conversation about that between sessions, we can do that too. Oh, but wrong
way, sister. Okay, we've read a lot of the work that Dr. Lakahani has done, and we love this quote. It's kind of a call to action for you, maybe a call to action for Kisti. Artificial intelligence won't replace humans, but humans with artificial intelligence will replace humans without artificial intelligence. So what that tells you is you need to become knowledgeable and using and accustomed to AI, because you are replaceable if you haven't jumped over the edge and begun to use it. So what is this explosion for what our country is calling industry workforce 4.0? Look at this data. The market by 2027. Y'all, blink your eyes and it's going to be 2027. Donna and I were talking the other day about 2019. I went, Donna, that was 5 years ago.
I know.
So quickly. But 407 billion, I think it's an underestimate. But here's the key, 75% of consumers, you know what? They're scared. They're worried about AI because they've gotten misinformation about it. Now, this looks scary. 400 million workers could be displaced. Keep going, Donna, to the next one. But the rise of AI is predicted to eliminate 85 million jobs. But here is the hallelujah message. But they're going to create predicted 97 million jobs by next year. It's already in the works. It's churning away. Replace, 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 replace. So that's why it's our job in schools. We have got to get our kids ready to be relevant, because trust me, the research we've done and some of the work we've done at COAST and with educators around the world, it's sad they're ahead of us. But our kids don't compete with kids here in Kentucky anymore, just Kentucky. They've got to compete with kids around the world, and so we've got to step up our game. Here's the call to action for you today, we hope. Embrace it or get left behind. And the ship has left the dock. We can't even see the ship anymore. But many of us are struggling to keep up. And Donna and I aren't 20 years old anymore.
I am.
You liar. We thought we were, but when we get up in the morning, we realize we are not 25 anymore. But the key is we are plugging away, learning about AI. We can't keep up with that. I just wrote a blueprint for RTM on AI. It took us a year to write it. And by the time we went to the last draft, we had to almost rewrite the whole thing. I went, this isn't relevant anymore. The last 90 days, we were writing almost every day. So you talked about that cloud, Donna.
Like I said, most people have gone to the cloud. So I want you just to look. Are all of you in your districts now in the cloud? 100%. Everybody?
A whole lot.
Kind of still getting there. I got news for you. In my former district, we still have some physical servers. Well, they're virtualized servers on physical boxes because our community is not quite ready to let all the special ed data go to the cloud. But so if you look at these types of things, that centralized data management, like in the state of Alabama, we're on a statewide SIS. Do y'all have a statewide SIS? So all of that data is there. And as we start to do more and more things and having that centralized data and managing the performance data, and like I said, with the help of AI, we will be able to get a prescription for that child that you can look and have in your hand so much faster. I had a friend, Brian Phillips, who we were talking about this morning, and they did their strategic planning in their district, and they put all the data in the cloud. They have AI running on it, and they took all the notes from all the meetings, from the whole strategic planning session, fed it into the AI, and it gave them a list of actions that they needed to do to address.
They just sent it to ChatGPT, Donna. That's what they did. They ChatGPT.
But the point being is, you still have to know how to read it and how to analyze it and that type of thing. But that saves a lot of time. But you can't really do that if you're still holding on and not putting the data up in the cloud so that you can access it. It's scalable infrastructure. I know that all of you are working on scalable infrastructure. Like I said, we're really, really having to build out clouds right now, or cloud infrastructures to handle the AI. So just know that's coming. The collaborative tools are getting better and better. And of course, the accessibility. The other thing that it's going to do, and I have been waiting because we've been talking about this for a long time too. And that is, we all talked about wearables, 10 years ago? We were talking about wearables.
They were too expensive.
They were too expensive, and
We tried them, but the glasses too expensive.
Well, and they also would lose connectivity, But again, with the data in the cloud, it's going to allow us to do more virtual and augmented learning environments, and then do more wearables. I was looking at we were trying to build an immersive room about 7 years ago, and I got the walls where the walls were covered in the from ceiling to floor using old projectors, saving money. And then I went to get the wearables because I wanted to design it so that it looked like you were walking through the streets of Spain. I have a big imagination, and I am a super geek. But the wearables at that time to give me that immersive, I got the walls with laser beams on them. I got them where you could touch them, pop bubbles on the walls, but the wearables weren't there because the cloud wasn't fast enough. My connection wasn't fast enough. And then I've geeked out, and some of you are just shaking your head and going, I don't know what that woman's talking about. We can have a cup of bourbon.
That Hollywood has surpassed us in all that learning, but it's the cost. It's come down. But it's coming down. It's coming down. And we're going to see it thrown into education.
But I think you're going to see more and more virtual labs in the cloud because the speed is better. The wireless access speeds are better. They're building out the clouds. So a lot of these things that we've been talking about for a long time are going to be more cost effective and are actually getting here.
So we're hoping this is challenging you just a little bit to think beyond where you are to that infinity and beyond, because we can't sit still.
Well,
the world has shifted on its axis for us in education. When they closed those schools, the world shifted, flipped upside down, and now our kids' expectations and the community expectations.
But so much of this is dependent on having a really robust cloud infrastructure, the analytics, which AI is helping us with, and then just the infrastructure to do it.
And a vision.
And the vision.
And a vision.
So be proactive, not reactive.
So micro-learning, it's not just, we're going to learn a little bit. We taught, I told Donna, my grandmother taught, I was like, you did what? She said, I taught in a one-room schoolhouse in Arkansas. Kids from 4 years old to kids 20 years old before they, had to go work on the farm. And she did little pieces of learning with every child all the time. Micro-learning. And so it's short bursts of learning. It's not the stand and deliver probably that most of you had when you were in school, where you stand up, a teacher pours her brain out to you, you write down some notes, and you take a test on Friday. That's changing. It's minute bits of information, personalized, with objectives, with content, and a key idea, and then subtopics. So it's very small incremental pieces of learning. The delivery obviously is technology enabled, and the evaluation are different. I hate to say this, but all of us in our states, Alabama, Kentucky, I live in Houston now. I'm sure y'all have these statewide assessments. Am I correct? Are they sacred? Statewide assessments? Y'all are smiling. We give these assessments. They rank our schools. They rank our students. Their relevance is non-existent today to what kids need to know and be able to learn. So we haven't moved there yet, but it's coming. And there's going to be a shift, and we're going to beat up the politicians. Neil, right here in Kentucky, we're going to beat them up, and we're going to get them to understand that assessments don't just have to be done near the end of the year. They've got to be authentic.
Well, Sheryl, let's just paint a scenario here and tie some of these things together. Okay, how many of you have experienced in whatever the politically correct term is in your state, because I've never been known to be very politically correct. So it's either learning loss or learning delayed, but whatever we want to call it, we have students who have gaps in their learning still since remote learning during COVID. How many of you would agree that we still have students that do that? Okay.
Got some learning loss?
Have a little bit of learning loss, delayed learning, whatever the term is, that's right today. But the point is that they're missing some stuff. But we're having trouble doing it in the regular classroom. So let's just think about what we just talked about, okay? Hybrid learning. They're going to class, and we have some online. Micro learning. So instead of trying to teach them the entire unit, we look at the deficit areas and do micro learning.
With technology, Donna.
Right.
Wow.
Just those hits, okay? The analytics and the data that we're gathering, we're going to know if they're there or not.
And we're going to analyze it with AI, Donna.
So when you put it all together, it just makes a pretty good puzzle.
So what we're all about is a journey of discovery, of innovation, resulting in transformation. We've been talking about innovation and transformation forever. But ladies and gentlemen, I would submit to you, we cannot wait any longer. Our kids are depending on this. And as Donna said, some of them have dropped out. They didn't come back to school. In my district, we had 35,000 plus. We're now at 32. We don't know where the kids went.
Yeah.
We cannot find them. Numbers are down in our schools. I see some people shaking their heads. Yeah, there's learning loss for the kids that are there, but we've lost some kids. So we've got to be intriguing and draw them back. So what does this? We've been
You're
talking
tech
about
people.
theory.
So what does this mean for you? Woo.
We've been up in the cloud. We've been talking about things. Oh, this is all theoretical. So Donna, what does this mean for these people that have come to KISTI, that are tech leaders?
How many of you, we talk about the data revolution here, think interoperability is important? If you are an EdTech leader, you know that interoperability. How many of you are having trouble convincing your district and some of the people who are buying software that they need to check to see if it's interoperable before they buy it?
How many of you have the authority in your district that something cannot be bought? Any type of device, any type of software cannot be purchased unless you've approved it. That's good. That's progress, but every hand should go up.
So when we talk about a data revolution and everybody wanting to use data for all of these things, then that is a talking point for you in your district to say, that's great. I'm so glad we've got metadata and I'm so glad we've got all of this data, but we've got to make sure it's interoperable. And if you have a statewide SIS, you know, like we do.
You got a good start.
You've got a good start and you've got a lot better chance of getting that
But
API ready.
Donna, how many of it is tight as a drum? Data privacy and security. Get on the front page of the paper and see how career altering that is for your job. Donna and I talk to people all over the country almost every day, and we hear some sad stories about data privacy, security, and like, oops, we haven't met a superintendent that will stand up in front of the board and say, you know what, we got hacked. I didn't listen to my tech director, and I wouldn't buy the stuff and the cybersecurity, and I wouldn't put the policy up. So therefore, you should fire me, the superintendent, because it's my fault.
I'm going to take full responsibility.
Ain't gonna happen, ladies and gentlemen. This is what they're going to do. Whether you're skinny or not skinny, they're going to put their foot right on your posterior and push you right under that bus. They're going to say, "That's that, Donna. Donna, come up here to the front of the boardroom and explain this hack."
How did this happen?
Why did it? Because data privacy and security is the end all and be all. Today, tomorrow, every day. So lock it down.
You can use the data revolution to catapult things that you know need to happen.
I think you should scare the people. And we're going to talk about that in our cybersecurity session. We're going to talk about the fear of data and privacy, and we will give you the tools to scare the people in your district you need to scare.
But as they're wanting to use more and more data to do what it is we're supposed to be doing, which are teaching children, you can use
this neuroeducation. We've talked ad nauseum about data analytics, but that's what it means for you, is being able to provide the analytics to help your teachers in your schools understand the whole learning process and apply it in different ways in that AR and VR. And unfortunately, the adaptive learning, that if we're really going to personalize learning, we just can't teach every kid the same thing. And I know you know that. We're preaching to the choir, but the adaptive learning systems are moving so quickly, so succinctly, and becoming so sophisticated that every teacher should have access to it.
In your role, don't you see the part in white? These are the things that somebody's going to come to you and ask you to make happen. So that's why it's so important that you know. Mm-hmm. Again, online learning systems. Do you have a statewide learning system? I mean, like in Alabama, we're a power school state right now. They're reevaluating bids, so that means that the whole state gets Schoology. Do y'all have something like that in Kentucky? Who's your statewide SIS? Infinite Campus. Okay, so I'm sure a lot of you
are. Today.
Yeah. I can't believe we're looking at bids to change after like 3 or 4 years. But the online learning system, if people are going to do hybrid learning, then all of a sudden you're going to have to make sure that's up all the time and that everybody has the devices working and the bandwidth. You're going to have make sure all the communication systems are working, because if you're having hybrid learning, You're going to have to make sure that all those messages come and flow easily. Everything gets rostered and communicates correctly.
And you better have some bandwidth, Donna, when those online state assessments come on. I talked about somebody the other day and says, they told us we have to test this many students and this amount of time, and we can't buy the amount of bandwidth that it's going to take to do that in our school district in that 2-week period. I said, well, good luck to you. Sheryl, I called you. You're supposed to help me. I said, what are you going to do? You going to call the sun down to give you more bandwidth? It doesn't exist. So this whole thing around online assessments and the irrationality of some of it is going to be a bigger problem for you if you can't get it changed. This AI piece, the policy and ethics, we are not here to scare you or warn you, but we are here to share what we see happening other places. You need to be talking to the decision makers in your district and getting these AI policies in place before this is what happens to you, before it gets done to you.
And there's some great
instead of
templates out
done
there.
With you.
And look at what Oregon has already done it as a state. Let's see, Oregon, and I have all of it stored in my Wakelet. But it's Oregon and Colorado. I can't remember. I can look it up.
A lot of states are working on it.
There are a lot of working on it.
But y'all have the power here with KISTI.
Yes.
To be able to provide some leadership in that and get some of this statewide work done so your district can adopt it. Again, how many of y'all, we've all had stuff done to us in the district because we're the technology leaders, but let's change that circle and let's say have it done with us. What else, Donna?
Well, the data collection and storage, like I said, with all of the
4 minutes.
The computing power that we need there, when they start building out these clouds that you're already using, you can experience some outages there and just know that it's coming. So I'm not going to go over a lot of the cloud platforms because I feel like this room is more familiar with that and you can read. And then, like I said, the micro learning, the biggest thing there is going to be the enhanced platforms that can handle it, the assessments.
But this is what it means. These are the things they're going to ask you about.
They're going to ask you how to do it. So we don't have, we talked your heads off. Well, we got 15 minutes for questions.
Well, we end in 4 minutes.
Oh, well, I don't guess we have 15 minutes.
So any questions or comments? We'd love to hear some comments.
Let us hear from you, and we can talk to you more one-on-one in all these other sessions.
What's plaguing you? What's keeping you from going where you want to go?
What's your biggest challenges here in Kentucky? Because like I said, we've got 5 sessions here.
I'm going to hand the mic to somebody if you don't say
we can address it. Because we're going to dive deep into these topics in our other sessions. This was an overview.
Oh, this is so good.
Okay.
Oh, wait, that's the wrong one, sorry.
Circle of trust in here. Nobody better repeat it to her superintendent.
They won't even remember your name. Come on. In here, I got you.
I think we're truly blessed in the infrastructure that's been put in place already by KDE. But as we grow exponentially, I think number one, just education in general, keeping up and being ahead. Education and K-12 education, public education is not known for like rapidly moving.
Mm-hmm.
So I think purchasing applications and vetting applications and communicating and educating our leaders
come to that one
on the privacy and things involved with that is always an ongoing challenge. And I think with ESSER funding, everybody wanted to buy things.
Mm-hmm. Everybody bought everything. That's the problem.
And applications, that was one of them.
We call it an avalanche.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So that's a challenge to keep moving forward.
It was cool that Kentucky was the first state in the country to have a statewide network for schools. But if they're like Alabama, they will also have trouble.
A long time
keeping
ago,
it
as a young,
updated.
skinny girl, when the Kentucky educational television thing happened, I went back to Louisiana and tried to talk them into it, and they went, Bye, girl.
We got it now,
But
Alabama, right
Kentucky
after
was
y'all
the
did.
leader.
What
Come
else?
on, some of you. I'm going to go to one of these guys.
If everything
Let
in
me
their
go to
district's
this
going
guy.
great,
Look, he's
I'm going
sitting
to
there
move
looking
here.
cool and calm and collected. What's a challenge or what's up?
Well, I think that you all have done a great job highlighting the challenges that we're facing. You've hit a lot of the high points with the cybersecurity. I know that's a big discussion.
Come to our
right now.
scary
That's on the-
session.
That's on the.
We're not going to
that's
wear
on the table,
witches hats, but
as
it's
well
pretty
as
scary.
integrating AI into the classrooms and making sure that we're using that appropriate. So there's a lot of work ahead of us to do, but it really gives us a good focus moving forward. So I appreciate
Well,
you.
build on what's done. Don't start over. I mean, we've got a lot of resources on that, and we're going to give you a code so that you can all go through the training for cybersecurity free. So at that session.
I'm coming over here because this lady was shaking her head. The two of y'all were shaking your hair. We were talking. I was like, thank God it wasn't like this. It was like this. So is she your friend?
Yes.
She's going to have to buy you drinks.
Not anymore.
She's going to have to buy you drinks tonight because she pushed that microphone. So what's your deal? What's going on?
So I'm a new CIO in our district, but
Oh, fresh meat.
yes, yes. I do think that AI is part of it, but security and privacy has been a big issue because it's almost like nobody takes it serious, and it's a very much nothing can happen to me, nothing can happen here. We're a small
It's the
district.
cloak of it. I'm a big old fan of, that little boy that waved the magic wand. The cloak of invisibility is what they feel like they have. Well, like I said, get on the front, be a story for the New York Times. During our cybersecurity session, I'm going to talk about that. How many of you as directors have ever had the FBI call you? No, oh, look. Only me? Oh, yes, isn't it so much fun? Hey, let them come to your office. That'll really give you a career boost.
Well, Sheryl, what about what's been in the newspaper for Birmingham? I'm so glad I live outside the city. Birmingham City's been down for 3 days. Everything that the city does, every driver's license. I immediately called my daughter and I said, do you ever file anything? She's an attorney in Birmingham City Court. She goes, Mom, I file everything federal. We're on our own network. But everything in the city of Birmingham has been down for 3 days.
I'm sure it was some very nice people that just unplugged something, huh?
No.
It wasn't some bad hackers.
No.
Well,
driver's license, can't get a driver's license, can't get.
We have tried to talk you through some of the things that stay on our mind that we hear around the country. So this is our contact information. John, stand up. John and I are fixing to do a session on E-rate, federal policies, everything you want to know about this. John's fresh off the FCC meeting, so you're welcome to stay. But thank you for coming. We have enjoyed our time with you, and we're going to be here. Like you said, we're going to be here all week. We're going to be here for 3 days.
But come to some of the other sessions because we can really get down deep and give you some actual strategies that might help you. We come with lots of free stuff.
Yeah. So thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Come on, John. Next.